vitamins. Not all vitamins are created equal. I did not know this. I thought that a multivitamin was a multivitamin was a multivitamin. I thought a vitamin E was a vitamin E no matter what brand it was or where you get it. But the reality is that you could be wasting your money. And back, I guess, a few years ago, Time magazine featured on their cover that it's really about the health issue and the crisis that we face and how to not end up here, which is on the hospital bed on the cover of Time magazine. And they said it's all about prevention. The first step toward containing healthcare cost is to avoid getting sick in the first place. So here's what it takes. So many of you may already know this because you are on this call, but I am going to share with you a quick little video about why would you want to take a vitamin. So let me go over to that. All right, I'm gonna try and make that work. All right, here we go. And let me make sure it's sharing for you.
Consider this paradox. We live in an age of medical breakthroughs. Advanced treatments, therapies, drugs, and technologies improve the science of medicine every year. However, the prevalence of heart disease is up nearly 10% since 1999. The prevalence of cancer is up nearly 20% since 1999. And diabetes, up 35% since 1999, is a gateway to other diseases. Unless we reverse this trend, experts predict that for the first time in history, 1 in 3 children born today may live shorter lives than their parents. So why aren't we healthier? It's largely because we're overfed and undernourished. Take a few seconds to think about it. We often choose convenience over our health. Fast food sales have increased 2,000% since 1981. Eating fast food more than twice a week is associated with an increased risk for diabetes. Even so-called healthy foods full of artificial ingredients and fat. Only 2% of us get our daily recommended servings of fruits and vegetables. And studies show that produce is not as nutritious as it used to be. Poor nutritional habits are becoming a national epidemic. But you are in control. Countless studies show that nutritional supplementation can positively affect your health. With proper nutrition and a healthy lifestyle, 80% of all heart disease in women is preventable. 60% of all cancer-related deaths is preventable. 90% of all type 2 diabetes is preventable. Proper nutrition and supplementation. Give your body the nutrients it needs. Invest in your health today. For more information, contact the person who sent you this video.
All right, everyone. So let me get back and make sure that you are able to still see me on the presentation. So just in case the video didn't work, I want to do a little recap. So yes, we are overfed and undernourished. 9 out of 10 Americans fall short on the essential nutrients in their diets. And we know how hard good nutrition can be. It takes, time, preparation, and today's lifestyle just doesn't really make time for that. So when we're talking about adding a supplement, what we're really talking about is filling in the gap. Filling in the gap of, hang on just a second, filling in the gap of what you're not able to get from your food choices. So one of the things that I want to talk to you a little bit about is what you should look for in a vitamin. And actually, let me go through it this way here. What you should look for in a vitamin is you're looking for 10 vitamins and minerals. Usually you're looking specifically for vitamin A, C, D, E, and K. And you're looking for minerals, especially potassium, zinc, and iodine. You're looking for at least 100% daily value, or DV. And you want to avoid any mega doses. When you see something advertised with mega doses, that is just marketing, and it's also a little concerning as to why would that company want to overhype something to you, because the reality is a mega dose like that, first of all, is likely not really in the product that they're hyping, but second of all, your body absorbs, your body's so perfectly and uniquely designed to absorb exactly what it needs. So anything beyond what it needs, it's going to pass through and it's going to be wasted. So that's, plus there can be some dangers to mega dosing, like 500% of something. The other kind of things you want to look at is, are there any clinical studies on that actual product that is in the bottle that you're taking? A lot of companies refer to clinical studies, but the clinical studies are not on that actual product. They're on, they're on, you know, maybe the, you know, if this vitamin were used, then you can, you know, you've got a good result with it. But who's to say that that vitamin is actually present in that product? And that's why you want that to be. And also, is there any proof, any clinical studies or any proof of the absorption of the vitamins that are in those products and the results of those? Are there any tests to be sure that it's pesticide free? And does the company operate at a minimum of the USP, which is the US Pharmacopoeia or beyond grade levels? This is a shocking headline that you can research on your own if you want, but you may recall it a few years ago. The New York State Attorney General pulled several vitamins from major store brands such as GNC, Target, Walgreens, and Walmart, which sadly, a lot of people get their vitamins from those stores. And the problem is those stores are not, they're marketing. They are not science-based stores. And there's no regulation on supplements or vitamins. So all too often, what is on the label is actually not in the product. The Food and Drug Administration does not regulate the supplement industry. So anyone can sell anything with any label on it. And sadly, especially in America, the consumer believes that if it's sold on a store shelf, it must be good for me. Well, that is not true. If it's sold on a store shelf and it's a vitamin product, then it has no regulation on it. The produce that you buy in the produce section, your apples, your oranges, your meat in the meat section, your packaged food goods, they do have some regulatory checks and balances on them. But when you get to the vitamin aisle and even the functional food protein aisle, those things are unregulated. It is the Wild West out there. Whatever somebody wants to tell you they're selling, they can tell you they're selling. And if you buy it, then it's buyer beware. There is no regulatory body managing that at all. So please, please be careful with what brand you're choosing and where you're choosing. You know, I would never look for cheap, discounted bungee jumping. Right? I mean, my life is all too precious. I'm not going to look for, I'm going to get the cheapest deal on skydiving that I can find. No, of course, we wouldn't be that reckless with our life, but we are that reckless with our body and with our food choices. And this article tells you how some of the products were labeled gluten-free, and they absolutely had rice in them. Some of the products had an exaggeration of lead contamination. So, you know, we have to be in control and we have to be savvy consumers. And I'm going to walk through some things to look out for. Here are 5 dangerous ingredients that some companies actually do put on the label, but they think that we are foolish enough to take a risk and to have them in our vitamins. The FDA allows these kinds of ingredients, but there's no regulation on the supplements. So these kind of ingredients you find even in food products, like in cereals and other things as well. But when you see these ingredients in your vitamins, remember, the FDA is not regulating it. So whatever the company says is in it may or may not be in it. And if they're bold enough to put some of these things in their product, what else, how are they trying to control or manipulate you, or maybe falsely advertise to you? The number one dangerous ingredient that you find in vitamins, but you find it in a lot of food products, are artificial colors. We don't need artificial coloring. It's a trick. And this often shows up as FD2 or green 3 or red 3 or red 40 or yellow 5 or 6 or FDC Lakes, which is a variety of colors, or simply listed as artificial color. Artificial coloring is derived from ingredients such as coal tar. If it's artificial, our body was not designed and created to have that in our body. So let's not put things that are artificial in our body. Let's put things that are coming from nature in our body. Artificial coloring has been linked to all sorts of issues, from cancer to hyperactivity, especially in children. So if a vitamin company is tricking you into a beautiful color vitamin in hopes that you're going to feel better about taking it, you should ask yourself what else they're concealing. The other dangerous ingredient is hydrogenated oils. It's sadly ironic that what we have, as a consumer, we've become more educated and more aware of what we're eating in our foods, and we would not cook with hydrogenated oils, and we might not even eat food that has hydrogenated oils in it, because of all the damage that it does to your arteries and to your nervous system and even your blood sugar regulation. But yet we're completely oblivious to the fact that it's an ingredient in the vitamin that we're taking to supplement the gap between what we're getting from our food and what our body needs. So look out for that. Any company that's using hydrogenated oils is basically saying that they're taking an inexpensive way out of having a filler in the vitamin. It's kind of like, I do a comparison of if you're going to have a hamburger, we all know the difference between making a hamburger fresh from home with ground beef that we've bought versus buying a hamburger at a fast food restaurant. And I'm going to use McDonald's as an example. We all know that there's a lot of fillers in that burger, which is why it never goes bad, even if you kept it for years and years and years and years. We don't need fillers in our body. We need real food, real nature in our body. So hydrogenated oils is something that you absolutely do not want to see on a vitamin label. The other dangerous ingredient is aspartame. Aspartame has been known to do damage to the brain at any dose and leaving traces of methanol in the blood. Now, it's been added to a lot of products and has been approved by the FDA as being safe. However, it's been linked to lymphoma and leukemia, and it's basically a synthetic combination of amino acids and I don't even know that I'll get it right, L-phenylalanine. And it's known to convert into a toxic methanol gas and formaldehyde gas inside the body. Well, of course we don't want those things. I mean, that's a chemical concoction. Aspartame does not come from nature. If it does not come from nature, you may want to reevaluate whether that's something you want. Speaking of nature, we're all really aware about pesticides. Now, of course, a vitamin company is not going to list, or any product is not going to list pesticides as an ingredient. But there has been an increasing demand for organic produce. And that is something that you want to look for. But even organic is only an indication of how it's grown, not what happens from the time it's harvested until it's delivered to you. And many times there are preservatives and pesticides added after harvest before they're delivered to your marketplace. So unless they can prove that they test for and reject pesticides in their raw materials, you could be consuming pesticides in your vitamins and you wouldn't even know it. The other dangerous ingredient is magnesium stearate. Now, this is controversial. There are limited studies on this. So there's probably not enough studies to be definitive about it. But it is an oil that's used so that vitamins do not stick together when they're being manufactured. And again, it's not a nature oil, it's a man-made oil, kind of like the hydrogenated oils are. So we know that nature is good and safe for us, and we don't know what the long-term impact on our bodies is of chemicals. So why take the risk? Let's, have less consumption of chemicals and more consumption of nature. So what do? I mean, I probably scared you a little bit here, but I wanted you to really take seriously what it is that you're putting into your body, and to not be so trusting that if it's on a store shelf that it's safe. What do? Do you do a lot of massive research on the internet? Do you become a label reading expert? Do you just take the risk and say, I'll just go ahead and try it because I'm not spending that much money on it, or whatever. No, here's what I do for my family. I find a brand that I can trust. I don't have enough time to do all the research, and I don't have a degree in science. I'm not a PhD. I'm not a doctor. So I don't have the resources to be able to even understand a lot of the research that is out there. And I don't want to be a research expert. I want to find a company that has a record and a proven history of being a brand I can trust. And the brand that I trust is Shaklee. Shaklee got its name from Dr. Shaklee, who was the founder. He was a philosopher. He was an innovator. He created the first multivitamin in the US back in 1915, more than 100 years ago. He founded the company Shaklee in 1956. He created the first biodegradable non-toxic cleaner. He created the first soy protein isolate powder. So if you know anyone taking any kind of vitamin, all research of vitamins comes from Dr. Shaklee's research and his experience. He believed that the more we live in harmony with nature, that is how our bodies were designed and created to live in harmony with nature. And the more we live in harmony with nature, the better our body will function, and the more in balance it will be, and the less likely there will be room for a diseased state to happen within our bodies. And the further we get away from nature with all these chemicals and these artificial ingredients and all these pesticides and all these chemicals, then the more we are putting ourselves at risk for diseases. And, 100 years later, people are finally coming around to see things his way, and there's more and more research to show that that's true. So like I said, there's been a lot of innovation. The Shaklee difference is, and I know this because I actually worked inside the company. I worked with the over 75 scientists. These are real scientists. These are not people that took an online class. These are PhDs from Harvard, from Cornell University, from Berkeley, California. I mean, these are serious scientists and medical doctors. And I've seen our test laboratories where they do the testing. At Shaklee, they screen for over 350 contaminants, pesticides, and impurities for every botanical ingredient. Guys, that is 3 times more screening effort than what the US pharmacopoeia standards are. So when you hear something is, oh, it's USP, well, that's only a third as good as what Shaklee is in what they do for their screening. They are rigorous and rigid about their screening of any, and I have seen them reject botanical ingredients and even cause a stop in the supply chain of a product because there was an issue of not being able to get the purest botanical ingredients. That's a company that puts quality ahead of profits. They do what is right because it's right. They're not looking for what can we get away with and what's the least that we need to do so that we can market and sell it and make a lot of money off of it. And that's the kind of company that I trust, and I want to be using their products. They conduct over 100,000 quality tests per year, which is far beyond the requirements of any regulatory agency because there is hardly any regulations on these products. We have never had a questionable result in quality testing in over 100 years or any kind of a recall. We've got beyond organic. Organic just means that it was grown organically without pesticides. It does not account for what happens to it once it's harvested. At Shaklee, they don't just go with organic. They go to organic and then they trek beyond that for any kind of contaminants. Shaklee also has proof, over 135 actually, published papers and scientific presentations in medical journals about their actual products. They aren't borrowing the science that happened in a study and they're claiming, well, I've got that vitamin in my product, therefore I'm going to claim that science. They actually have 135 papers on their actual products that you're taking, the Shaklee products, have been proven to work. And more than 70 patents pending on how the products work and how they're absorbed and formulated. Part of the proof is in the landmark study and the telomere study. It's clinical proof that you can live longer. There's 11% lower cholesterol for people that are using Shaklee products for more than 20 years. And I guess I'll set up the study a little bit. You know, there's all these sensationalized headlines that vitamins don't work, or proof that vitamins don't work, and there's really not a long-term usage study. So Shaklee embarked on a long-term usage study of, we believe that Shaklee customers will have better health results, and we put that up against any customers that use any other vitamin product, and we put it up against customers that use no vitamin product. And the results showed that the Shaklee customers did have marked better results. 11% lower cholesterol ratios, 33% lower levels of triglycerides. Both of those speak to the heart health. 36% lower levels of homocysteine. That speaks to brain health. All the stuff about dementia and Alzheimer's. 36% lower results, which means they were healthier in the Shaklee group, and 59% lower levels of C-reactive protein. That can be linked to diseases, and it just indicates overall biological stress. Now, here's an example. A telomere is kind of like your DNA chain that's been discovered in your body, and it predicts how long you will live a quality life. It's kind of your own little palm reader in your body. And the telomere in your blood, the telomere, how long the chain is, tells how long you're going to live a healthy quality life. In the telomere study, looking at the Shaklee population of people that were using Shaklee products, they had a 40% lower rate of telomere shortening, which means they had longer quality life in the Shaklee group. For example, an 80-year-old Shaklee supplement user is projected to have the same telomere length as a 41-year-old non-supplement user based on that study. So let me ask you, when you're 80, do you want to feel like you're 40? I do. And we certainly see the proof of that in the Shaklee studies here. And these are clinical studies that are independently conducted by doctors and Nobel Prize winners, such as Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn here, that Shaklee could not control the results of. That's not marketing and advertising. Those were independent studies that the results cannot be controlled. They're published, whether they're good or bad, they're published. They're independent studies. Changing brands can change your life. And Dr. Blackburn says the Shaklee population is remarkably healthier than the general population. And this is shown by 2 studies, not just one study, 2 studies. The landmark study, a long-term nutritional supplement study, and the telomere study. And if what the experts in the studies show is not good enough for you, then maybe consider elite athletes. Elite athletes that are performing at the highest level of their sport, of their game, they are subject to random drug testing, and many of them could jeopardize their career I mean, their life has been spent training, training, and training to be peak performers and elite athletes. And one drug test could throw them out of their entire career. We've seen this in the headlines all too often. Well, who comes to Shaklee for supplements? It's elite athletes. They're not paid. They're not endorsed sponsors. They're not retired from their sport. They are actively involved in their sports, and they're coming and choosing Shaklee because they know that our testing process is so rigid that there's no risk that there will be something that's not on the label that could cause a bad drug test, or that there would be things that are in the product that would cause a bad drug test for them. But there is all the good stuff that they want from nature that they can't get from what they eat alone. And it's proven by even NASA. You know, even NASA has used and come to Shaklee to help them with products. And if that's not good enough, it's 100% money back guaranteed. If you buy Shaklee products and you do not feel the results, then you can get your money back, even with an empty bottle or an empty container. This is just a quick comparison of a major brand at the top, vitamin label, and a Shaklee multivitamin. They both happen to be women's vitamins. I know the print is not that big, and if somebody wants to see some of this more specifically, I can send it to you later. But basically what you can see is what I talked about earlier. On that basic label of that inexpensive, highly popular, advertised on TV on a regular basis vitamin, most of those vitamins and minerals are not in there that I mentioned at the beginning to look for, or they don't have 100% of the daily value. The other thing is you'll notice all of these other ingredients that they have. In particular, they've got food coloring, and they've got the stearate that I was talking about earlier. They've got a lot of the junk fillers in there to fool you about the product versus real quality nutrition. Whereas on the Shaklee vitamins, you can see everything's at least 100%, except for calcium and copper, which is not what's intended for this product, but everything is. And again, we use no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or preservatives to ours. Here's another flyer that, if you're interested, we can get this for you as well, but it just does a comparison of One A Day Men's Vitamin, for example, and which brand, Shaklee brand or One A Day's Men, has more. And if you look at those prominent critical vitamins there are only 3 that One A Day's Men equals Shaklee on. You know, B2 and folic acid and zinc. The rest of it, Shaklee has more. And you know, you look at this bottle of vitamins here, and whether it's the men's without iron, or whether it's the women's with iron, or whether it's the gold, for those of us that are 50 and over, it's only 45 cents a day. 45 cents a day. I mean, really? You know, what you saw in that video, all of the consequences of not taking care of your health, and we know we're not eating enough of the right things in our daily consumption of food, and we know that even the food resources that we have are not as good as they used to be, and all of the prevention. You saw it on Time Magazine. Time Magazine says it's all about prevention and what can you do to avoid getting sick and how can you supplement. For 45 cents a day, 45 cents a day. We're talking like less than $15 a month to be able to be sure that your body is getting the basic nutrition, the very basic that it needs. Now, if you want to step it up a notch, what I take Shaklee's product, Vitalizer, which is what the Landmark study was based on. And Vitalizer, you're looking at the multivitamin, like I was talking about just in the slide before, but you also get extra omega, you get an Optiflora probiotic, you get extra B, extra C, and you also get Carotamax and some extra E. So it's just a more complete, full vitamin, but you also have Smart Delivery System, where it's Shaklee Micronutrient Advanced Release Technology. We have a patent to be sure that the vitamins release in your body exactly where they need to be when they need to be there. We have a patent on that at Shaklee. We have proof that it works that way with the Landmark study. And that, my friends, you could have for only $2.63 a day. $2.63 a day. You cannot even get a cup of coffee at one of your favorite shops for that. $2.63 a day. Is your health worth it? Mine is. And my life radically changed when I started using these products. It really improved and strengthened my immune system, my energy levels, and just so many other things. I have to also mention the importance of protein. Our body is made of water and protein. So to think that drinking water is good, which it is, but to neglect the fact that adding protein and a good healthy source of protein is neglect. So I use and I choose a non-genetically modified protein from Shaklee. They have a plant-based protein that has no sugar in it, or you can have a soy formula, which I use, that has, you can choose with sugar or without sugar in it. And look at the comparison to maybe what your normal breakfast might be. You know, your normal breakfast might be 490 calories. This could be only 140 calories, but it's 20 grams of protein versus only 8 grams of protein. And like I was saying, it's around, you know, that this is less than $3 for this meal versus $9 that you, I'm sorry, $7 that you might pay out at one of your favorite places. So all this information, what do you do with it? Well, it doesn't have to be confusing. Go to whoever it is that invited you to this call. They have a free health quiz that Shaklee developed with the Mayo Clinic and the Harvard School of Health that will help you find your perfect plan. Resources that are free and recommendations for you based on what your habits are and what your goals are so that you can design the perfect plan for nutrition for yourself. And one of my favorite doctors at Shaklee is our medical doctor, Dr. Jamie McManus, who's a best-selling author and has been working at Shaklee for about 15 years. She says, prevention is better than a cure. Why wait for things to go wrong with your health? And she saw that all too often in her practice as a doctor, as people would come to her after things had gone wrong, rather than being willing to make the investment or to educate themselves on what they could do to stay healthy and to prevent things from going wrong. So I encourage you to live younger and live longer with a healthy life, looking at what we have here at Shaklee. All right, so our presentation is over. I do have a little video that's a 1-minute video that I'm going to show you about vitamins dissolving. You know, one of the things that, this is kind of a bonus feature, one of the things that that is all too common is these vitamins that have all of these synthetic fillers in them are actually not dissolving in your body. So where are they going? Are they staying in your body, which they could be? Are you passing them, which you are if you're taking those kind of vitamins? But the bottom line is the most expensive vitamin that you can take is the one that's not working and the one that's full of synthetics. I mean, if you are going to spend the money to take a vitamin, spend the money on the ones that's going to make a difference for you, that's going to work. So let's just take a look at a little test that was done about vitamin dissolution. And hopefully I've got it. Hold on, let me figure out how to share it with you. I can't tell. Sorry, I'm having some trouble sharing it here. Okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble sharing that. That basically what you see there is what you would have seen, and if you want to see it, you can reach out to me. Is they compared the Shaklee multivitamin to the GNC vitamin, to the Costco vitamin, and to the one a day vitamin, and they put them in water, but then they also put them in apple cider vinegar to see which one was dissolving at what rate. And basically, the Shaklee one is the only one that completely dissolved. And like I said, I can send you that video if it's something that you're interested in later. But that's what was going on there. So I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Feel free to reach out to me for this recording or for any information that you'd like, and check out that health quiz by whoever invited you to tonight's call. Thanks.